What's going on? Marcus Miller here, and I'm assuming you just bought the Marcus Miller SWR preamp. Congratulations. You can have fun with this thing. It's really cool. Just to give you a little history, I'm from New York. I was a studio musician for a long time in the 80s and the 90s, and the thing about New York was that everything was happening fast. You know, sessions were 3 hours. We did music for commercials that only lasted an hour. We had to move, and they never had time for a bass amp in those days. You had to go directly from your bass straight into the mixing console, and you had to depend on the engineer to get a good sound because he didn't have an amp that you could fiddle with, right? So one of our solutions that some of us came up with in New York was to install preamps on our bass that gave us control over the treble, control over the bass, so that we could give the engineer a good sound, a sound that we liked, so that he didn't have to fiddle so much, and we could keep things moving quickly, right? Well, this is a preamp, okay? And that's what this does. It basically helps you shape your sound before you amplify it so that you can have a little bit more control, right? And it's more than bass and treble now. You know, I have an onboard preamp on my bass, but it's just bass and treble. This has everything, and it's really a great tool for you to shape your sound, provided you know what you're doing, and provided you know what all the knobs do. So that's what I'm gonna do here. I'm gonna show you what all the knobs do, okay? So I'm gonna start from the left, work my way to the right. First, input. You got two inputs, they're the same, okay? On some of your amps, you may have seen one input is an active bass and one's for a passive, but this is not an amp, this is a preamp. And on the preamp, they're both the same. And this select switch goes from the top to the bottom. There's also an input in the back. If you have a wireless or something like that and you want to have it going through the back, you can. That'll replace input on the top, okay? That's the input. Here is the mute button, okay? If you put your bass down and you don't want it rumbling during the quiet section, okay, hit the mute button, but just remember to take it off, okay, because you wouldn't believe how many bass players freak out trying to figure out what's wrong with their sound. They can't hear anything, and that red button is on, okay? So mute button, all right? Below the mute button is the pad. If your bass has a strong output and you see that preamp clip coming on, all right, that means you might want to use that pad, okay, so that the sound isn't distorted as soon as it gets in the box, okay? Okay, that's better. Okay, so that's what the pad is for, all right? Check out that clip light. If the clip light's off, you're okay. If it starts coming on, use the pad, okay? Here's the gain, okay? This is what brings your signal up to a level where the preamp can deal with it, okay? Be careful with the gain. If you have it too high, it'll override the master volume, which is here, and you'll get a distorted sound. Some people like that sound. Just know what you're doing with it. If you want a clean sound, back off on the gain so that it doesn't override the master, okay? It's actually a cool way to get distortion, but experiment with it, all right? Okay, this is the bass intensifier, okay? When you're ready to rock the house, you're playing dub music, reggae music, something that needs really intense bottom, kick it in like that. They made a nice sexy blue light because it's a sexy sound, really low, it rumbles everything. Here's the level, right? And this is the cutoff. And what the cutoff means is that this bass intensifier affects frequencies from 80 up to 200. If you have it all the way up at 200, that means when you turn it up, it's gonna turn up every frequency from 200 all the way down, right? And it's a pretty big sound, right? As you dial back, it's only gonna affect the frequencies from, for instance, here would be maybe about 100, here is about 90, and then here is 80, right? So, here, I'll play you a little bit of the bass. Okay, here's with the bass intensifier, intensifying things. Okay? Okay, that can do some real damage when it's loud. Okay, so be careful, okay? Unless you want to do damage, then just turn it all the way up. This the important part of this preamp. This is the EQ section, okay? EQ section, if you don't want any EQ, it's a bypass, right? If you want EQ, click the bypass button so there's no light. Bass frequencies, you know what that is. Treble frequency, you know what that is, okay? The mid-range, really important, okay? And I want to make sure everybody understands this, because this is the easiest way to mess up your sound, is to not understand how the mid-range works, okay? So here you go, low mids, okay? Low mids are really cool because sometimes when you add bass, it's too much for the hall. It might be like a gymnasium type hall or a real ambient hall where the bass, when you turn up the bass, it just gets too boomy, okay? Well, a tighter version of the bass frequencies is found in the low mids, okay? So you have, it goes from 35 to 180, but I'm talking about around 80 frequencies, 80 hertz. This is, listen to the sound. All right, check out 80 hertz. It's bassy, but it's not like woofy woofy, right? So if you're looking for a tight bass that's not too boomy, start experimenting with your low mids, okay? Start around 80 and see what you get, okay? Everybody's bass is different, everybody's amp is different, every room is different. So I can't tell you exactly what to do, but experiment with it and see what you get, okay? Mid-mids, okay? All you finger guys, okay? This is where you live, right here, mid-mids. This is what brings your notes out. So if you're going, okay, mid-mids. Listen to this. I'm doing it kind of drastic so you can hear. See how much the notes projected, how much closer they sound to you? Here's without. Right? With. Just be careful with the mid-mids, because if you overdo it, the bass sounds boxy. Listen. Right? You don't want it to sound too boxy, so don't overdo it. And you can sweep around. Here's a little higher mid-mid. Okay? Mid-mids. Very cool, but be careful. But that'll make your notes jump out. All right? High mids. In the same way that the low mids are a kind of tight version of the bass, the high mids are a version of the treble, right? That might be a little bit more useful in some situations. If you're in a place where your bass just doesn't have any clarity, you know, people can't understand the notes you're playing, they just hear woo woo, you might want to experiment with giving some high mids, okay? So here's the bass. Here's the high frequencies. Be careful, these are kind of harsh. Okay? You don't want to overdo that because it'll give people haircuts, right? But it can give you a little bit of clarity. If your bass is sounding a little too harsh, this is where you cut. All right? Listen to my high mids cut. A little warmer, right? Okay? High mids. Treble is treble, right? It's the highest frequency we affect. It can get kind of harsh as well. Right? So be careful, but it'll help you get clarity. You use just enough high mids, just enough treble to give you clarity. If your bass is sounding too boinky or too clangy, cut some high mids, okay?